All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 71st episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W. here.
Excited to record today, man. A lot on the agenda here.
A lot of things have happened since the last time we sat down and talked.
Well, yeah, because we released the conversation I had with D-Rock last week. We didn't actually record a pod. So it's been a couple weeks since we've talked. And yeah, definitely a lot of things have happened since
I think the week before we didn't record. So it's been a few. It's nice to be back as always. It was nice to go back up north and celebrate my birthday. That was fun. It was last weekend. And then by Birch, I was just like, I'm over it. I'm over this birthday shit.
Yeah, I felt the same way during my birthday where I wasn't really excited for it. It was cool while it was happening, but it was like nothing. I'm glad we got to hang out and we went to like a distillery, which was cool. That
distillery was dope.
Yeah.
Big shout to Corgi, the distillery in Jersey City. I told some people about it. They're like, "Oh, we come here all the time." I'm like, I've never been there. It's been there for 4 years. Tasting room, super dope. 2 different rooms, different feels. And I did the flight of all the different gins, the vodka and the whiskey. It was excellent. Big shouts to those guys. That was really good.
Didn't even know it was there. Never heard of it.
I mean, it was like up against like the train track somewhere and like deep into parts of Jersey City that I used to go to that you definitely shouldn't go to. But now it's building up. And
the brewery's right next door. So they got a brewery, a distillery.
It's going to be nice down there.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be the next like gentrified area. And it kind of already is.
Right. It's just pushing down there. You already have people in that. Though there've been people in those lofts down there because I looked to live in those lofts back in like 09 or 10 or whatever. So anyway, already starting off topic, but yeah, I mean, that was a good time. And then, I had a good time on Wednesday hanging out and getting to bounce around before the work weekend started. And once the work weekend starts, you know how that goes. Thursday hits and all of a sudden, like I'm on a plane on Monday going home.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely nonstop, especially with you trying to just jam in as much work as you can in the weekend before you head back.
Yeah, that's a different scenario than when I'm up for 2 weeks and I could like skip a gig, and not feel terrible about it, but you're just trying to get it all in as much as possible. I have to say though, one last thing. I have to say that like I did Latin night on Thursday and I did a country bar on Sunday and, a couple drag shows in between, and it couldn't be any more different every single set.
And then Birch.
And then headlined a nightclub. And it was really an all over the place DJ weekend. And, if you took all my gigs and put them together, it's the most open format thing you might have ever seen.
Yeah.
So
I don't think a lot of people could actually do that.
It's different. Like you really have to mentally, downshift into these different lanes and but you also have to have a vast knowledge of music, at least in some time periods. Like my country knowledge is pretty good, but like only like in a tunnel, if you will. Same thing with my Latin, but you just know what the people like and you just go from there. That's it.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of which, though, I was coming up there, and the night before, I'm doing music prep. I guess this was on Tuesday before my flight Wednesday, and I went to start messing with my crates, and all of them were empty. Every single crate was empty. They were all in orange, and I'm freaking out. I'm texting you like a madman. And then I hit up Greg UFOso, and I wound up being able to Dr. Oso for all your DJ needs. And I wound up being able to analyze and find and restore a bunch of my crates. But it didn't find like 1,500 tracks, which I'm still working through. I moved a folder, guys. Just remember when you move a folder that all your Serato tags, if you have them in crates, they're going to get moved. They're going to get changed. And then you got to go and change it when you move it, which is a real pain in the ass. I wound up losing that folder. I don't know where it is.
Isn't there a way to locate and reanalyze within Serato?
That's what I did. What I did. And that's why I got like 22,000 songs back, but like there was like 1,500 to 2,000 that were in this one folder that I moved and renamed and can't find it. And now I got a bunch of doubles in there. It's just a huge mess. So I'm working my way out of that. I'm hoping Dr. Oso, when I see him, can do something for me. We kind of went over a game plan, so hopefully we get somewhere with that. But I know that you and I also hadn't backed up my new computer in quite some time, because I switched over to the new computer back in like August or something. So I don't think I backed up since then, which is pathetic. And I know you kind of had a similar situation happen.
Yeah, I think it's easier said than done with the backups, right? Like, it's always like, oh, well, you should have just backed it up. But sometimes you just forget, or like, for example, like I back up on my time machine, but because I'm running an older version of Mac OS, I can't just go to the store and buy a new computer and upload my time machine and be good to go, So there are like layers of compatibility and issues that we have to deal with that comes along with this. But yeah, I think solution number one is have an external hard drive that you copy all of your music to, and then you also copy all of your Serato crates to at a minimum, right? Just so that you have that safety net, and maybe do it on 2 external hard drives. I used to keep one external at my mom's house. It's still there. I just haven't backed it up in years, which was like my third backup, I guess you would call it. But
right.
So last week, my computer's older, right? It's a 2015 MacBook Pro. It's loaded out. So like, it's a great computer. It's been my primary computer for DJing, producing, and all of my day-to-day business needs since 2015. So it's been a while. And I'm starting to run out of, space storage on this thing. It's got an internal terabyte. So it's been time for me to order a new computer, but the $4,000 price tag of the one that I wanted has like kept me from doing so since this computer was working. However, last week I got an alert on my computer, like service battery, this big like warning sign popped up. And for a time, every time I was unplugging the computer, it like wouldn't hold a charge.
Right.
When the computer was charging, it worked fine. I DJ'd all weekend. It wasn't an issue. So as soon as this happened, I set up an appointment with Apple, went there, they ordered the part. It was not just a battery, it was the whole top case of your computer. So like your keyboard and the shell on top, like where the trackpad is. Dropped the computer off Monday morning. And, I was wary, like I was scared to do this. I'm like, listen, I ordered my new computer. It's coming in 6 to 8 weeks. Can I get away with just using this computer plugged in? And my thought process in my head was, all right, do I just drop this off? If they can't get it done by Thursday, which was, my first gig of the week, I'll just go pick it up and I'll use the computer and we'll figure out another time to drop it off, whatever.
Right.
But in my head, I was like, if I don't drop this off for them to do the work, or at least try to do the work, what if I'm DJing and in the middle of a set, my computer battery just completely dies, the computer shuts off, and I literally have no computer. So I left it.
I think that's happened to me many, many years ago.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
So I left it with Apple. At no point were they like, just so there is a possibility that something else can happen. The computer could die. Like, we don't really know, blah, blah, blah. So they call me and they're like on Wednesday, and they're like, hey, your battery was replaced, but we're having an issue getting the display to work. We're going to have to ship this out. And I'm like, no. You're not shipping anything out. Like, I need this computer by tomorrow to go to work. And at worst, like Friday, so I could really go to work. And I started freaking out. I got the manager on the phone and he's like, all right, let me get my text back on it. I'll call you back in an hour. Like 5 hours later, I'm here having like panic attacks. My girlfriend's hearing me like cry about all this the whole time. And they finally call me back and they're like, all right, well, we did get it to work. You could come pick up the computer. The battery's replaced, the top shelf's replaced, and you're good. But in that 4-hour window, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm running High Sierra on this computer. I have a time machine backup, but I haven't backed up my computer on an external hard drive since probably like pandemic time.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. And I'm like, do I go try and buy a computer that has High Sierra on it and upload my time machine? Do I go to the Apple store and try to plug into a monitor so I could at least load up some sticks to go DJ with while my computer's getting serviced? Like, all this stuff was running through my head. And luckily I didn't have to like actually do any of that, but it was super scary.
It's interesting that they couldn't do anything and they were going to ship it out, and then all of a sudden 4 or 5 hours later it's all done. Did they give you a reasoning as to why that was?
They did not. I didn't ask any questions, but the second they said, "Oh, well, we're not going to charge you for this $599 fix," essentially.
Oh, wow.
I knew they fucked up, like
right.
Nobody's just giving that away. Get that away.
No, especially
they probably also saw how much money I just spent on a brand new computer, and they were like, we should probably like take care of this guy. He spent a lot of money with us, kind of thing.
Right. A couple things. Because you and I have the same issue with our 15-inch MacBook Pros. Did you ever find out what causes that screen staining?
Yeah, it was another thing. There was a recall on the plasma or whatever. I forget what it was called. The retina screen.
Right.
And at any point I could have gone and cashed that in and sent it out and got it fixed. But again, like I don't have the ability to not have a computer for a week. Like for 3 days without my computer, 4 days, I was like, what do I do? Like, my whole life is done sit in front of a computer every day. Like
Get Down DJ group was very quiet over that 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah. No downloading music, no Serato, no Ableton. Like what are we doing out here?
Yeah, that's difficult because I know that like you went and got an old computer, like from like one that was from like 2010 or something like that. And
nightmare. Just moving at a snail's pace. I didn't know any of my passwords for anything because they're all just saved on my computer.
It's crazy how like automated and how just like we get in this rhythm, and the minute that something kind of goes awry, it's like, holy shit, I have nothing. I know nothing. It's a lot.
Yeah.
My other question would be for you, because you produce so much and you DJ so much. Would you suggest people that are doing those two things a lot to have two computers, one solely for producing, one solely for DJing, and then God forbid something happens on one, you can then at least load your backup onto the other? Listen, not the most economically friendly thing to do, but maybe like getting a 2 or 3 year old computer for one or the other. And then this way you're able to have two computers.
I've gone back and forth on this. And one of the reasons why my new computer was so expensive is because I got 4 terabytes of internal storage.
Jesus.
Because I don't want to deal with 2 computers. I want to do everything on one computer because I don't know, I'm downloading and doing Serato on one computer. I don't want to have like Ableton on the other computer. Gonna have to like move files all the time. Like, I don't know. The convenience of having one computer that has everything to me is just better. If I travel, do I want to bring one computer to work on music and one to produce music? Not really.
Right.
I do think having a backup computer, like I could sell this computer and probably make $1,000, but I'm probably just going to keep it as a backup just in case. I mean, especially because it's a new M1 and who knows what the compatibility is going to be in all the clubs with the different equipment.
Right.
I'm going to keep this computer for the near future to at least have this with me if my new computer doesn't connect for whatever reason.
Yeah, I like having my old computer just sitting around. I actually have both my old ones laying around. Obviously the oldest one doesn't really get to, that's actually used for the golf simulator in the garage.
Nice.
But the other one is still a work computer. Like I try to do like a lot of our office stuff on there, not a lot of the Zoom stuff because the latency is crazy. And not so much DJing, but like really like the back end stuff of Get Down and Get Down University kind of gets done on that computer. It's kind of nice to not clutter up the DJ computer with the office work stuff. We leave everything in Dropbox mostly anyway. So yeah, it's easy to just kind of use that one instead of always breaking out the brand new one.
One of the reasons why I haven't bought a new computer is because I've been going back and forth on all these different potential arrangements. I was considering getting like a desktop computer to keep in the office and do all the office work, and then have the laptop do, production and music and keep that separate there. I thought of that. I've thought of everything. Like I thought of getting 2 new laptops and selling this one. Like I've kind of thought of everything, and I just decided at the end of the day, if I have one computer that has everything, it's just going to be best for me. And that was kind of it.
Yeah. I mean, you wear a lot of hats in the entertainment business. So, I can understand where it was very difficult to kind of weigh all your options, because there are so many options and there are so many things that you need to do.
Yeah.
Because you're shooting video, you're producing, you're DJing, you're downloading. It's just, there's a ton of things. You're doing a lot of back end work with, documents,
graphics
and
emails
and graphics,
podcasts and all this stuff.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, yeah, like I was trying not to use the like I said, the new computer too much, but like for podcasting, like the video is so much clearer. I'm sure the sound's better. So yeah, I get it.
All right. Well, I think the moral of the story is everybody should back up their computer and your music when you hear this, because I would have been feeling a lot better if I had an external hard drive that just had all of my Serato crates from, let's say, end of 2021, like that would have made me feel a lot better. Right. So guys, if nothing else, do that today or tomorrow or this weekend or just soon. It's something that is so easy and we put off, but it's so important.
I think something that maybe we can all do. I just thinking, spitballing here and just thinking of this now, is like, just set an alert for the first of every quarter that says back up your computer. Because listen, at the end of the day, if you lose a quarter of music, sure, it feels like a lot and there might be some important tracks in there, but it's not going to be like, it's not going to ruin a crate. It's not going to destroy an entire crate, at least the way I download. So that I can't speak to everybody, but I know for me, if I literally just lost, like where it just got erased and it's vanished and I don't know what it was or that it was in a crate, it wouldn't kill my crate,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to attack it, or you do it monthly, whatever works for you. But like I at the very least quarterly.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next thing I've gone back and forth on whether I wanted to talk about this on the pod or not. But I think it's important because I think we're all going to either go through it or have gone through it before. And it's not easy. So I've held a residency in Hoboken on Thursday nights for, I don't even know how long, 6 years, probably 5 years.
Yeah. Maybe even 15.
It's been a while, like whatever
2015. 6 years, at least 6 years.
But I started DJing my Thursday night party, and once it's a half price, like college kind of party where they're doing half price the whole night. It's usually a pretty busy night. It started out as very like bar music would be the best way to describe it. Like they didn't want a lot of hip hop. They didn't want a lot of EDM. And it was just fun, sing along, a lot of different genres, jumping around type thing. And slowly we built that party into basically my style. It was a lot of house music. It was Jersey club. It was some hip hop. It was some reggae. It was some trap music. It was kind of whatever I wanted it to be on that particular night. And it was a huge industry night where, any given night you could run into 10 DJs, 15, 20 DJs in the building at some point. And it was just really fun. It was packed. It was busy early. It was just a great time. And a lot of things have changed where that party just isn't the same as what it used to be. It's still a successful party. They're still making money. It's just not the style of party that I helped build. And that was very, purposeful. We kind of created a party because there wasn't a party like that in our market. And it was probably my favorite party to play. And the pandemic happened and, the whole staff changed. And what they do on nights and days where the DJ isn't working is completely different. And it really just created a different clientele. And again, like these residencies, we love them and we hang on to them, but nothing lasts forever, right? Nothing lasts forever in this business. Venues, DJs, parties, like it just doesn't. And it's something we all have to come to terms with. And it's not easy because I'm going through it right now where I'm texting you after a Thursday, like that was crazy. That wasn't even a recognizable party of something I've done there. Like,
yeah, number one, the longevity of that Thursday night party and it staying true to what you originally felt it to be and built it to be is incredibly impressive. That's not something that is common by any means. You're lucky if a place stays open in the North Jersey, New York City area for 7 years, let alone a Thursday night party holding its staying true to itself. Let's put it that way. The pandemic definitely threw you guys into a little bit of a loop, along with a staff change. Any DJ out there, if you don't know this by now, you should know that staff change will change your venue incredibly quick, especially in smaller venues, smaller lounges, restaurants, bars. I'm not saying the major nightclubs so much. Those usually have some kind of identity and a stronghold within their identity to continue what they've done in the past, no matter who the manager might be at that time, unless ownership wants to go a different route. Anyway, so like we all know the turnover in this industry is rapid. And due to that, you can see a place every year or every 2 years go through kind of an identity change, a musical change, things like that.
Change that happens all the time.
All of it, right? And that's why I'm saying that it's so impressive that you guys have withstood the test of time. I mean, that's a ton of time. But now, at the same time, the music, I feel like the music that's being consumed in our market is changing also. So we're going through another one of those waves. It happens every 3 or 4 years. I think that your Thursday party, you were able to, this is a different, how do I put this? Like, this is a different musical style than you have been able to adapt to in the past. The waves that have happened in the past, you've had in your DJ sets, hip hop, EDM, bass house, trap, whatever it might have been, right? This is leaning more toward a genre that you haven't included heavily into your sets. I feel you've included them in your sets, but not heavily, not as much as it's being expected of you from week to week at this point. So that being the case, that's why I think that's where like the disconnect lies, where the frustration is, you know?
Yeah. And the other thing that I've struggled with is like, all right, do I try to hang on to the identity of this party that was previous? Or do I just accept it and go with the flow and just make sure we have a good night and make our money and everybody's happy kind of thing? And, for a little while, I was trying to be like, hey, this is what the party is. This is what we do on Thursdays. But I've now, in the last few weeks here, just kind of embraced it and been like, listen, I just got to do what I got to do to make sure that it's a good night. And listen, not for nothing, like when you do that and you embrace what's happening in front of you, the staff's going to have a better time. They're going to make more money. The customer's going to have a better time and want to come back. And you as the DJ are going to have more fun because you're getting a reaction. And that's like, right. That's what churns our engines, right? That is that reaction and doing something and getting a response and then either continuing to do it or doing something else. And yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a matter of just playing the room and being open to playing anything really, I'm
not going to lie. I came to see you about 3 weeks to a month ago and you're like, it's just not the same. I can't stand you. Like you were DJing, you were at the venue on Thursday and I was standing there. It's just not the same. And in my head, I'm like, he's being really stubborn but I'm going to let him work his way out of this one. But like I because I went through it and I was the same way. And I came to you years ago and I bitched and complained that my 10-year residency was, well, it was probably 8 years at the time, that it was changing over. It wasn't as busy anymore. The staff wasn't anybody I knew anymore. So it wasn't as fun to show up to work. The owner, who was there every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, was only there once a week, sometimes once a month at that point. So I was just kind of walking back. I was walking into work. Right. And you always remember those good times and how awesome it was when you had a packed house and you were hanging out with your friends, meeting the staff. And then also the friends that you made who became regulars. What had happened was people just got older. They got married, they had kids, and everybody just kind of like grew away from that venue. And there I was still there. And I'm sure that like that's kind of how you feel. And mine wasn't so much music. Well, I mean, music was always changing, right? When you're at a place for 8 to 10 years, music's going to change. But the clientele kind of remained the same. But like I said, it wasn't as packed all the time. And I know I bitched and complained about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard when a home becomes a workplace, right? You have to mentally adapt, and you unfortunately have to do it pretty quickly. Because a lot of times when an owner leaves or a manager leaves, there's a mass exodus of other staff that leaves as well. But the only constant realistically is if you have good entertainment is the entertainment.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll preface this because I love the staff that's there. Like they're awesome. They're different than who used to be there, but
right.
Our staff there is super cool. They come and support our other parties. They support our DJs. Like they're awesome.
Oh yeah, they're great. They've come out and seen me a couple of times, and I think I've only been in Tally a handful of times in the last 2 years.
So it's nothing. If any of the staff is listening, you guys know who you are. I love you guys. We're not talking shit about you whatsoever.
Right. We're just talking about changes in venue and places.
Yeah. And I was there last night and really embraced the room, and it was just such a better night. It was just better. And whether that was because it was warmer and more people came out or whatever the reasoning is, I had a better time because I just embraced it. I jumped genres really quickly. You find pockets of people, you make them happy, you move on to the next pocket, you find the next pocket, and you hit everybody and you make as many people happy as you can. And, that was what I did. And that's what we're going to have to do moving forward. And I just think that's kind of where the market is going more so now than ever before. And that's just what it is.
We've talked about where the market's going as far as, genres are concerned, but it is wild the amount of subgenres within genres that a lot of people consume. So like you really have to move around. Like, my Latin night on Thursdays, I do 6 or 7 different Latin genres.
Yeah.
So when you're in a place that, people want Latin, it can be anywhere. There could be 7 different genres of Latin stuff. It can be, an endless, mind-blowing amount of house genres that people want to hear.
Yeah.
Which is a little more consistent because that all stays in like a similar BPM, and you can kind of mix all that stuff and make it sound clean. But some of like the other stuff that has all these like little subgenres, it becomes a little difficult because the sounds are so different, and to get them to work well together is very hard. It takes a very talented DJ to do it. And not all DJs want to attack a set like that. It's scary. It's scary. It's difficult. And it's not just like standing there and pressing play for 124 to 132 BPM and calling your night a night, You're
really DJing. You're really playing the room. You're really working the crowd. You're really reading and using your skills and your intuition as a DJ. Whereas you're doing that. Listen, we're not knocking house DJs either.
No, house DJing is difficult.
You're doing that as well. And there's their own difficulties and hurdles you have to overcome when you're playing just a house set. But
right.
Yeah, like if I'm playing brunch and it's slow somewhere, like I'm going to sit in 124 and you're mixing 8 bars and like you're just playing good music, vocals and chill vibey stuff. And that's it. It's relatively easy. So yeah, and I think this goes for all of our venues right now, where it's like it is becoming more open format, and you really gotta work and make all these different groups of people happy.
I like to see it. I love having my ear changed by the DJ and my mood changed by the DJ, because it's just it feels like the party's not stagnant, or the room's not stagnant. You're moving in a direction.
You know what else, like creatively, when you hit these walls or you need to like change your vibe or do something different, like I started listening to a bunch of podcasts of other DJs playing music and just like giving me some like inspiration and some creative juices flowing. And that honestly really helped me a lot, because normally a lot of podcasts I listen to are like business podcasts and spoken podcasts. And it's not as much music because we're doing so much with music, for the whole week. But this week, especially, I've really been digging into different styles of music and podcasts and stuff, and just getting inspiration from that. But
Yeah, I did that before my last trip up actually, and I think that's why I had so many really good sets. And then I was really lazy about it um, between trips here. But I was like deep into Boiler Room. Like I was in some weird places of Boiler Room sets on YouTube, and just like picking out songs. And even if I didn't use those songs, like things that those songs then reminded me of other songs and other genres. And then I went and pulled and recreated crates out of that stuff. So yeah, you're right. Like going in and digging into things online or like on YouTube or just on podcasts, it's super important, especially for those of us who work Thursday through Sunday and don't have the chance to get out and see these DJs and be inspired by them live.
Yeah. Something else I've been doing is checking in with other DJs and not just our own DJs in our market, but also DJs in other markets, you know, guys that are playing mostly in New York City. I talked to Cheesy yesterday or a couple of days ago, a while, about what's hitting in his venues in the Lower East Side. And I just think it's funny, like the stuff that's been working for me has been working for a lot of other people. And it's like a lot of like cheese, you know, it's like a lot of, you know, Katy Perry and like Kesha and like just pop, you know, Nicki Minaj, Super Bass, and Sean like Kingston. The older it's like the stuff that I was playing 10 years ago as an opener is like popular again, you know? And I think we're seeing that a lot in some of the house remixes, where a lot of the tech remixes are coming out are a lot of these vocals of like pop songs from 10 years ago that were working and popular, you know?
I didn't even tell you this. I was sitting in Phillips Seafood in the airport having dinner before coming back to Florida, and Cascade, whatever. Every Time We Touch came on, the original, like on the radio. And I was like, I can't even believe this is on the radio right now. Like this is being put out to like a whole new generation of people. Not to say that younger people listen to the radio, but like, you know, you hear that stuff out and you're like, oh, what is that song? And you Shazam it and you go home and you throw it on your Spotify, you know, like that's how a lot of this stuff gains traction.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously, you know, TikTok is really the driving force behind everything at this point,
sure.
Entertainment wise.
I feel like, you know,
why do you think that's all coming back?
Well, we're generally catering to a younger crowd, right? 21 to 27, we'll say, whatever the age group is. And you kind of think about like, what were they listening to and what's nostalgic to them when they were younger, when they were in school, or, you know, driving to school and listening to music. And I feel like all this stuff fits with what they were probably listening to or what was on the radio back then, because that's where you were consuming music at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like that's kind of what it is. It's like the people who are now in the clubs listen to all that growing up, and when they hear it in the club, they get excited about it.
Perfect example. I was driving yesterday, and I had, what was it, In My Lifetime Volume 2 Jay-Z on, and then it went over to like Reasonable Doubt, and like that's the stuff that I listened to in middle school and early high school. So yeah, I could totally see that. Like I could also see like those people in many years from now, like that's what they're listening to. At least, you know, if you're into pop, like, you know, the girly pop stuff, that's for sure. But yeah, kind of even moving a little forward out of 13, like in like 15, 16, 17, you're seeing all that hip hop stuff hit again, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like I don't know, I built Harlem Shake back into a bunch of my sets, which is kind of strange to me, but like it kind of like goes off like in certain venues. It's strange, but like, you know, like that BPM of that 15, 16, 17 kind of weird 70s like hip hop and like trappy stuff kind of all works again as well, at least for me.
I think like all the stuff that was peak at one time can still be peak, you know, like the hip hop from 3 years ago.
Cheesy lives by that mantra, by it.
It's true.
He always says there are no fillers, because you don't need fillers. You really don't. Just use all the peak stuff from years ago, right? Like you're saying. Yeah, that was Cheesy's mantra when he started at Hair of the Dog, because one of our venues Hair of the Dog down in the LES, is like go time from the minute you get on until the minute you get off. It's like 6 hour or 5.5 hours to 6 hours of just go. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
But it's attainable. It can be done, especially when you have a crowd that is versatile in what they want to hear and will react to different things. That's a special venue because you could do that there, like constant.
Yeah.
And they're gonna go in on anything. But I feel like the LES and the East Village has always been like that, where they're just open to stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different. It's a lot different than the North Jersey market. It's a lot different. Like you have to hit certain songs in like Hudson County, let's say, in Hoboken, Jersey City, and surrounding areas. When you skip over the river and you go into the LES and the East Village, like they're open to some weird pop stuff, but also like the extreme cheese that you would never ever think about playing, and that's where cheesy. That's where he excels.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me, like we're saying, like things are changing a little bit, but stuff that's worked in the past still works or works again. And you just constantly have to be trying new things and digging into things that did work once before. So it's just interesting to me. And it's just part of the evolution of being successful and having longevity in this industry, right?
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to something we were just talking about though, real quick. I was saying I was driving around listening to Jay-Z, and it's not that uncommon for me to have, Snoop Dogg Doggy Style on, or Dr. Dre The Chronic, or Mary J's always on my R&B stuff. So let's dive a little bit, if you want, into the halftime Super Bowl show, because we're now those old people that we got all hyped up about it.
Yeah, we're like a little late on this, but obviously we haven't recorded, so I do think we should put our 2 cents in here. But what were your overall thoughts? I thought it was like good, like a B minus maybe.
I enjoyed it. I thought Kendrick, I don't know, I thought that was a strange outlier. I get it. He's Andre's record label, correct? On Aftermath, right? Or Interscope, both. It's Jimmy Iovine, right? Interscope.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand, the West Coast and that connection with all that and him. That was all good. That's just like the old man say. I love Kendrick. Don't get me wrong. And have loved him since he dropped his first album. But let's see, the Mary J stuff. Obviously, she's like one of my favorite R&B singers. She was great. I mean, the ending was hilarious, as all the memes tell us. For just like kind of laying on the floor. And then I don't know, the 50 stuff was cool because it kind of tied in like a little East Coast with, obviously Dr. Dre produced a lot of his stuff and kind of took him from his first album to what his second album was. Right. Because I don't think Dre was on any of that first album. And I think that he really blew him up, and it was a nice nod to him, especially with all the power stuff going on that, he produces that show and how relevant that is. And then Eminem's Eminem. You couldn't have that show without him. I thought initially, and we spoke about this a little bit before the show. I thought initially that Dre possibly produced every single song that they had performed, and then I thought that was kind of how it tied everyone together, which I thought would have been a nice touch. But I don't know if he's produced a track for. Well, he did Family Affair.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
didn't do No More Drama. I don't think he did Lose Yourself either.
Really, that's surprising.
And I don't think he did the Kendrick stuff either. But it was on his label, so.
Right. So that's what we had decided. That's how it tied it together. But I thought it was really cool. Like there was a lot of like that old school West Coast hip hop vibe throughout the whole show. The car with the hydraulics in the front, and how everybody was dressed, obviously.
Yeah.
So I thought it was it was a cool nod to old school hip hop, which we haven't seen in a Super Bowl. And I feel like, not that it was relatable to the younger generation and the players, but I think it was stuff that they knew. It was better than like The Who coming out and playing, where like
Yeah.
like with like these poor football players, like 21, like who the fuck are The Who? You know what I mean? So I think it was more relatable in that sense. And like I said, just a really nice nod to hip hop.
I agree with the nod to hip hop for sure. And West Coast, LA Super Bowl, LA team in the Super Bowl. I do love all the touches and the nods to LA. For me and my taste personally, I didn't need Mary J. Blige there. Love her. She's amazing. I don't really see how she fits in.
Right.
Didn't need her. I think Dre, Snoop, and M have more than enough music to cover the entire show. And you bring 50 Cent out for a little touch. I get the Kendrick thing. I didn't need Kendrick, like I think if you're going old school, just go old school. And I feel like they threw Kendrick in there because they needed to hit that like younger market and at least get the younger generation a little excited about a Super Bowl where they might not really know the catalogs of all these people. Obviously, they're going to know who they are, but it's not something they grew up on. So for me, give me Dre, Snoop, Eminem, and give me a quick 50 Cent thing. And to me, that's the halftime show. And I'm super happy.
I think if you leave Mary J out, you leave 50 out. I don't know, 2 New York hip hop acts. The only, Dre produced each one of their records, at least one that they each performed. The only connection with those two is also Power. She is one of the stars in that show as well. I wonder if that had anything to do with it as like a little promo.
Yeah.
As like Dre throwing 50 a little bone with and doing a little promo for that. Could be. I mean, Ice Cube would have been dope. I don't know what the Dre Ice Cube relationship status is. I thought like Tupac hologram has been done before. Why couldn't we see that? That would have been dope.
Well, they did the California Love like nod, which was cool.
Yeah, I would have liked to just see them do like a Dre, Snoop, like Tupac hologram, just do the whole thing and do it up, I
have two big points I need to make.
Sure.
First and foremost, and I'm going to get so much heat for this. Like Tupac is incredible, right? Incredible artist, incredible lyricist, smart dude. I was never the biggest Tupac guy. Like I would never sit there and listen to a Tupac album straight through. I appreciate him. And if Tupac is your favorite artist, I would not knock you whatsoever. I totally understand it. But just for my personal taste, Tupac was not my favorite. Big East Coast guy, like that was just not my thing. So that was point one. Point two, back in the day, I went to like the Up in Smoke tour.
Yes, incredible tour.
I was probably in like 7th grade. How my parents let me go to an Up in Smoke tour, I have no idea.
I was also there, and that was night one. Did you went in Continental? I guess it was at the
Continental
time, right?
Airlines Arena for sure,
dude. I looked it up. No word to lie. About 3 weeks ago, I was watching a documentary, and I had to look it up. I was watching the Woodstock documentary, and they were talking about it, and that was the first night of that tour, which lasted for 3 or 4 years. It was
so
Exhibit. Incredible.
It was Exhibit. It was Ice Cube. It was Dre, Snoop, and Eminem. And that was the show. And it was incredible. Like, think about that lineup.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was Limp Bizkit on that bill?
No, that was a different thing.
That was
Eminem and Limp Bizkit did something else later. Anger Management, maybe it was called.
Anger Management. Yeah. Yep. Okay. But yeah, that was incredible. That show was great.
Yeah. So this was almost like a little Up in Smoke sort of situation.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that you feel that way about Tupac, because I feel like the stuff that I get into is his East Coast stuff, all his stuff that he wrote and produced in New York. So Strictly For My and also Me Against the World, which I didn't love as like a middle schooler, but as I got older, thought it was a really well written, well produced, and then also well formatted album, like where like the whole, not that the tracks told a story, but they really flowed nicely when people were buying CDs and tapes and you had to do that. So those two albums, particularly if you're not familiar with them and you aren't familiar with Tupac's East Coast stuff, go check that out. Strictly for My is an agitated, angry record. And it's aggressive. It's a whole different style of hip hop. It's like this real quick flow and just like real angry. I listened to it actually a lot over quarantine to show how frustrated I was. And then Me Against the World had like Dear Mama on it, and there was a couple a track called Old School, which I always got into by him. That was not really wasn't a radio record at all. Just talked about like the old hip hop artists from the 80s, and it was like a big nod to like Grandmaster Flash and all those guys. Very cool record. But yeah, I mean, in speaking to the Super Bowl halftime show, it would have been more featuring like the All Eyes on Me record, Machiavelli, and gosh, what else was there? I think that was it, really. That's all he put out with them.
These guys just have such deep catalogs that it's so hard to jam music into what, like a 15-minute set pretty much, or whatever, 30 minutes max. I don't even think it was that long, but I
would give my right pinky toe to be in that meeting, to be in the like the what would you call it, like a programming meeting, and just sit there and be like, all right, this is why we're picking this song, and this is going to appeal to this, and they're going to do that. I would just love to sit there and like hear these guys go back and forth. Or do you think it wasn't even that in depth? It's got to be for this halftime.
Yeah, I'm
show,
sure it's a super like in depth, and this is a very strategic and thought out process. It was 12 minutes long, super short. Wow, it's really short for that many artists.
It's like a DJ Cream NFL halftime.
What's cool about stuff like this, and we're talking about it now, and what's great about the world we live in right now is we can all go on Spotify and dig through all of these records. For some people, it might be the first time. For other people, it's going to bring you back to a great point, or maybe a bad point of your life, but it's going to bring you back to a certain point of your life. And that's what's amazing about music, right? Like, I can listen to one of these songs and be like, I was driving to basketball practice when I opened this album for the first time and listened to it. Or we were on the bus going to a game, or, I was with my friends at a party and we popped this CD in, or whatever it is. And you just remember that stuff. And I think that's incredible.
This isn't a lie. It's funny that you say this. The first time I listened to All Eyes on Me was at North Arlington High School basketball gym after I had played, I think, like a middle school game. And I popped it in my Discman for the first time. And I listened to it while I watched like the next game waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Obviously my parents didn't know I was listening to it, because I would have gotten in some trouble.
If my parents knew really what I was listening to, because again, like I told this story, how I used to get I was part of those CD membership things where you would get like 12 CDs a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would just pick a bunch of random stuff. And when you're getting 12 at one time, it's like, well, I'm not paying $16 for one album. I'm paying $16 for 12 albums or whatever it was at the time. So you can kind of like experiment. And I was getting like everything, all the, like down the rabbit hole, anything you can imagine. And like, my parents were pretty cool about like whatever I was listening to, but I could think of some like skits that were not appropriate for the time, for how old I was.
couple Doggy Style skits, couple little Kim Hardcore skits that were really bad.
Big Pun had a skit.
Biggie had a bad one on his Ready to Die album.
Yeah.
I remember I'm hanging out in the basement with my best friend John at the time. My dad like walks through to do the laundry, and Tupac's line is "Loose lips sink ships," and he goes, "Oh, nice song you're listening to." And me and my friend, we looked at each other and we're like, "What is he talking about?" He didn't say anything bad, but like not knowing when you're like 12, what he's referring to. so kind of funny, but
that is funny,
man.
Let's wrap it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna try to get a 10 out here. It's like 88 and gorgeous.
You deserve it.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go prep for my weekend. I guess Gary and I are trying to figure out what our recording schedule is going to be moving forward. So we're recording this, and we're probably not going to put it out until the following week. So I guess we should go through my dates for next weekend and not tonight.
Might be a good idea.
So next week, I am at 626 or the Orchard Room, New York City. I'm not sure yet. We're going to figure that out in the next couple of days.
Nice options.
Yeah. Angelo, the kid, and I are playing Harbor, New York City for brunch, which is going to be super fun. We'll probably go back to back for that set. Ashford at night. And then I have a Birch brunch on the 27th on Sunday. So that'll be pretty nice little lineup, some different stuff, little New York City mixed in there. So that'll be good.
I'm relaxing. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sit by the pool and hang out. It's going to be hot.
When are you back in town?
I am back on the 2nd. I'll be playing on the 3rd, which is Leprechaun weekend. Guys, mark your calendars. Looking forward to that. Expecting bars to be busy early, so expect a good time. And to all our DJs, get some rest prior to that weekend for sure.
Definitely. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
All right, guys. Peace.